just give everyone a few minutes just to join the chat.
Can you see how many people are joining?
Yeah. Good morning and welcome to the second day of FutureScape Virtual, and thanks for joining us for a one-to-one with Kate Cooney. I'm sure that many of you will have heard of Perennial, you may have even donated to Perennial, but how many of you actually know all of the services that it offers? So here is the opportunity to find out. But first, Kate, if I can just ask you to talk a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much. My name's Kate Cooney and I've been with Perennial for 2 years now, and I'm a corporate partnership manager, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Thank you so much, FutureScape, for giving us the opportunity. I've got a real soft spot for FutureScape because I was the very brand new Perennial girl when I first went to my first FutureScape in November 2018, and I absolutely fell in love with the landscape industry there and then on the day, and it sort of stayed with me. My background before Perennial, I don't come from a horticultural or landscaping background or even a charity background. I was in recruitment for 30 years and I used to recruit for Perennial. I'd first heard about the charity about 6-7 years before. My brother's a landscaper, and in our family we give one another, you know, you reach an age where you've got too many pairs of socks and bottles of scent. So we give one another a charitable donation on one another's behalf. As a result, my toilets are twinned with various latrines all over the world. I have a whole flock of goats, and my brother gave me Christmas dinner for 4 retired gardeners as a Christmas present, courtesy of Perennial. So as I say, I started recruiting for them, and then I had a phone call saying, would you like to come and have a cup of coffee, because we're very keen to engage with the trade associations in more depth and with businesses in more depth, and somebody that's got business to business experience. I thought I was going to be recruiting for them, but they were recruiting for me. And if you say in your mid-50s that this is the best 2 years you've had in your life career-wise, you know you're in the right job, and you're very lucky. Platforms like this are absolutely vital for us. Our vision is that every person in horticulture in the UK, including landscapers, is aware of Perennial. They understand what we do and can be confident to get in touch should they ever need our help. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a background. And as I say, thanks once again, Nina, for inviting us along today.
No, thank you. It's a good opportunity for us to have you on here. It would be great for you to tell us a little bit more about Perennial. We've had a glowing recommendation from yourself. So can you tell us when it was set up, why and by whom?
Oh, yes. I'm really proud of our history because I think it's a good story, and you know, we're a charity that comes with a pedigree. We were set up, like many good ideas. The idea for us came with a group of fellas in a pub in 18. True story. It was the Crown and Anchor just near the Strand, which is sadly no longer there. But it was the Society of Gardeners, Nurserymen and Amateurs that back in the day, it was 1839. So in January, we'll be celebrating our 182nd anniversary.
Wow.
Around for a very long time. If you think back to those times, and the TV addicts amongst you and the more literary ones amongst you, think to things like Lady Chatterley's Lover or Downton Abbey. It was back in the day when the big houses had their tied accommodation. And what was happening is when head gardeners were becoming too old and infirm to work, they were technically made homeless. So these good fellows got together and said, this isn't good enough, we need to start making provision for retired gardeners. And so that's how we sort of started off. And I think it was 3 retired gardeners they originally looked after. Since then, we've survived 2 world wars. We were founded in between a cholera epidemic, ironically, that I only discovered recently. So like the industry we serve, we're a very, very robust charity. What was interesting as well is that Charles Dickens and Sir Robert Peel actually spoke at our early dinners. So again, you know, we come with quite a pedigree. And what started out as providing financial relief and sickness for people in old age has evolved into a tailored advice, financial advice and life advice for all those working in horticulture. What's quite sad is that some of the problems that we faced in Victorian times, like debt, poverty, homelessness, was ill health, we're still helping support at the moment.
So how is it now currently structured then? It's got a fantastically rich history. What about now?
How we've grown now is, like all charities, we have our trustees that are our trustees on a voluntary basis. They are charities, I always sort of equate it to, it's like having your board of directors, and those are our trustees. You've just seen one of us in the video beforehand. Alan Titchmarsh is our actual president. So again, we're very sort of, these are real people that are experts in their fields. And then we're I hate to use the word, we come in two parts. So our services team that are our coal face, as it were, and they are the people that provide the help and bespoke support. And then there's the fundraising and marketing team, which I'm part of, which does what it says on the tin in terms of our remit is to fund the work that we do, go out and secure funds for the work that we do. And also going back to what I originally said about our vision of making sure that everybody is aware of us and they're confident to get in touch. So that's the marketing remit. And then supporting all of that, we have a whole team of volunteers that come from a wide variety of industries, and they will do everything from the collection tins that people might see out and about, through to helping get out our Christmas cards and man our warehouse and all those side of things. Have some amazing volunteers that work on our speakers panel as well. So people, it's a fundraising mechanism, so people can go out and actually, a society might want a famous landscaper to come and talk to them. And so people can volunteer their services. So anybody watching this, we need you.
A good call to arms. So what services does Perennial offer then? Let's talk about the more short-term services that people can expect.
Right, short-term, there can be, I mean, what's very interesting is that short-term, some people, when I mentioned before, when we were in the initial lockdown, our calls were up to 400%. Some of those, it can just be looking at our website. We've invested a lot of time and money and research into improving what's on our website, so people can just go and find information. Let's face it, pre-COVID, most of us had never heard the term furlough. We'd never heard the word COVID. And we'd never used the word unprecedented so much in our lives. So people could go on our website. On our website, there are, or they can make a call. And again, it's a short-term thing. And the call can be, the advice line can listen to people and work out. Sometimes they just need a piece of information. And in fact, it was after FutureScape 2018, I was invited by one of our partners to go to a launch party that they were having. And I didn't realise, but I was asked, again, I was the very new girl, and I was asked to stand up and say a few words about Perennial, which I hadn't rehearsed for and didn't know anything about. And I spoke to, afterwards, a very lovely lady came up to me and said, "You didn't mention that Perennial helps garden designers." And I said, "Oh, yeah, sorry." And she said, "Because Perennial helped me and you're absolutely amazing. I just needed to make one phone call." And then it answered the questions that I had been worried about. And so you did so much for me in one 40-minute phone call. So there can be short-term solutions. more information gathering and things like that we do. There are also things, again, and I don't know whether you call this short-term or long-term, but on our website there's information on, and again we're going to be talking about it a little bit later in the mental health discussion after this meeting, but there's things like our mental health app, and as I say, that's one of those things, is that a short-term or is it a long-term solution? There's our budgeting tool, which is absolutely vital and being used, and there's just a lot of information. We regularly, our head caseworker tells me that, you know, she's been monitoring the COVID information as and when it's released by the government and the Department of Health, and so we're continually updating to make sure that people have access to those services. Hopefully that's short-term stuff that we'll be doing. Long-term, we look after some people till the rest of their lives, for the rest of their lives, and their families as well. So sadly, there are, I hate to use the term because it sounds so Victorian, but orphans that we are supporting because we supported a family that, you know, were bereaved. And it can be, I'm a great advocate of the trade associations, and we've been working very well, specifically for FutureScape's purpose, the APL, Barley, the Landscape Institute, the SGD, and we work with some fabulous employers that are really, really good, you know, really look after their staff well. But the key thing is that we will look after, we've got a joint duty of care for the people that we look after between us, but we will look after them for the rest of their lives. One of our oldest people that we're supporting is in his 90s. He was a World War II veteran, and we've bought him a mobility scooter. So, and he was in horticulture years and years ago. So, you know, the length, the depth and breadth of service from us depends very much case by case. Some people will have a caseworker, and that caseworker, the feedback that I have always received from people that I've come across that we've helped has been, the nice thing about Perennial is you just didn't say bye-bye, you made sure I was okay, and then you made sure that I was really okay.
There seems to be quite a variety of the financial services that Perennial can offer, from, like you said, a mobility scooter to I believe school uniforms. There are so many things that Perennial can help with in terms of finances, not just big things but little things.
Yes, and what's the only downside, as I say, my passion for Perennial is phenomenal, and I always have a laugh with my colleague Phil Swainson, who is my counterpart, that we don't have the services that Perennial offer the horticultural industry and the landscaping industry are so immense and such a wide variety. We don't have an elevator pitch, which for somebody from our backgrounds is quite a difficult thing to do. So, I mean, as I say, it can be literally a phone call. Our caseworkers, we have a network of about 25, a national network of about 25 caseworkers and debt advisors, and they will look after people on an individual basis, and they will, you know, help them if they're really stressed about our debt advisors in terms of that they're qualified financial advisors. They will help them look at ways of reducing their debt. Now, again, we think of debt as people that have overspent on a credit card or something like that, but you could be talking about people that have got into a mess with inland revenue, and it's helping the focus people in the right direction. We've got a legal helpline. If people are injured, there's a physio service that we have. So we don't have an elevator pitch, and what we say to people is come and talk to us, and you know, we will support in the ways that we can, and we do. Like you said earlier, on an individual basis. Yes. Yeah, it's very much, we pride ourselves on, we're the only UK charity that offers, you know, we are the only UK charity that offers a bespoke service specifically for the industry.
So who then is eligible for?
Anybody, in a nutshell, anybody that works with plants, including, if I can make it as sort of tight, and their dependent families. Now, one of the things that you and I were talking about earlier is, do landscapers regard them as horticulturalists? Our view is they might not, but we do. And I think I mentioned that, you know, it's by far the biggest sector that we actually support.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really important point to get across. Those who don't class themselves as horticulturalists needs to be included.
And also the really important thing is that if somebody is unsure, we collaborate very, very closely with other charities. So if somebody isn't sure if they qualify for our help, is to contact us and we can signpost people. We work very closely with people like, you know, sadly with people like Macmillan, who will say, or the food banks, they will say, oh, somebody's, you know, visited us today, it turns out they're a landscaper, or, you know, they used to work, they're retired from horticulture, and then we will pick up the pieces. But that goes sort of the other way as well, that for example, very early on in my career, I went to visit a nurseryman that is also has a garden centre, and on top of that garden centre he has a cafe. And he said, I think everybody here's all right, we'll do the posters and the talks and everything else, but I do know our lady that manages the cafe is a bit, you know, needs a bit of help. And she contacted us and we simply linked her up with the charity that's appropriate. So we can't guarantee that we can give everybody the full suite of services. You know, not everybody qualifies that contacts us for everything, but we can certainly signpost elsewhere if we can't help them. And that itself is help.
Yeah, I completely agree. You touched on it a little bit earlier, but and I know you'll be talking about it in the mental health debate too. But if you can just mention a little bit about the mental health aspects of Perennial.
Sadly, it's increasingly, again, I will talk about it a bit later, so I don't want to, and I'll be with my colleague. Sadly, it's a thing that is increasing. I personally, and it is a very personal opinion, it's not a professional opinion, is that we shouldn't, mental health is health, you know, and I think that it comes with a little bit of a stigma. Occasionally it's getting a lot better. It breaks my heart, and I've had the conversation many a time at FutureScapes, as with other other exhibitions that we go to across the various sectors, that you get groups of young lads, and you will have seen them at previous FutureScapes, that are, you know, it's a firm's day out, and they'll come up to your stand and they're interested in what we do. And we ask the question, what's the thing that's most likely to kill somebody in the industry under 45? And they'll come up, you know, heart attack, stress, the wife. True. These are all answers I've received, Nina. The fact of the matter is, it's people taking their own lives. So it's something that is very, very close to our own hearts. Again, it goes back to our early intervention and prevent scheme. It's really important that people come to us if they're feeling a little bit worried. We have an amazing app that we've invested, or an online tool that we've invested very heavily in, called Together All. It's accessible via our website, so you just go onto it and register. It is absolutely confidential, and we don't know who is using it, and it provides, we spent a lot of time choosing which way we were going to go. What's appealing about Together All, and was very important for us as a charity, was the fact that it's used by ex-armed forces. So it's, without being sexist, we work in a very male-dominated industry, so it was really important that it was something that, you know, the majority of the industry felt comfortable with. It is unisex, absolutely unisex. And the NHS use it as well for their own staff, and they're obviously in stressful situations, and people can go on it anonymously. It's 24/7. It's got chat rooms, it's got courses. It's absolutely amazing. And what's really good is it's monitored 24/7 by healthcare professionals. So not just an app, it's not negating any responsibility. There are people that, if people are in critical mental health conditions, those mental health professionals can hop straight in and help.
And if anyone watching this did want to hear more about that later, there is a seminar on mental health. Can you remind me of the time, Kate?
11:30.
11:30. So do tune in for that as well, to hear a little bit more about that from other areas of the industry as well. Kate, you mentioned there was an uplift due to COVID-19, about 400%, I think you said.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that and the kind of areas that people have been interested in?
Yes, it was. I mean, we knew we were going to be, our quote was, our last day out for the marketing team was the APL Awards, Friday the 13th. We'd heard about this. And then, of course, in fact, it was the last time I saw Jim and Jamie live. And then, of course, sadly, things escalated madly. And, you know, we were all booked and raring to go to FutureScape, and things became dramatic. That week I had about 4 functions that I was going to be attending or talking at. They were all cancelled, and then we had the announcement that Chelsea was going to be cancelled as well. So we knew we were going to be a bit busy. We didn't realise how busy. A lot of the initial calls were really based on people scared, people not knowing what it was. Could they go? And this is where I was saying about, we actually monitor very closely government news. You know, could they go to work? They're self-employed. They've only got self-employed or low income. You know, there were lots and lots of quick questions. So although 400% sounds scary, and make no mistake, it was a challenge. A lot of them were sort of just initial questions. I was talking to one of our senior caseworkers about this. A couple of weeks later, it calmed right down when it came up to Easter, and we were quite quiet that, you know, we were bracing ourselves, and we were quite quiet that Easter. And the comment was, well, people have sussed it out, found out what it is, and, you know, things like the mortgage holidays had kicked in and the business loans had started to come through, so there was less of a worry. They've gradually crept more and more up again. So we're working full out, and it's, as our head of casework said, it's not that it's over, the tide has gone out and we're waiting for the next big wave.
And have you found that with the second lockdown then there's been a bit more of an influx? Or?
Yeah. And also stress levels are increasing, because I thought it was really interesting. I attended the post-COVID talk yesterday morning with, I think it was called Chura and John Malmo from Willoughby, or ex-Willoughby. And he made I'm quite a fan of John's, and he made a very, very good comment. And it was that there is no post-COVID, it's here with us. And it's not so much COVID, and we will have to adapt to that. It's the stress and the recession and the financial implications that will impact on our industry, and Perennial are fully aware of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So how then can people or companies ask Perennial for help? What are the ways that they can get in touch?
In terms of for help and advice, visit our website. I think I put it down in the notes there, but it's perennial.org.uk. Call our helpline, which, as I say, I've put it down there, and we have a stand, so we've got details there. And it's 0800 09. I have to always write it down, Nina. No. 0800 093 8543. Or, you know, feel free, my contact details are available. My colleague Phil's details are available. Contact us initially. In terms of, we're not the, I hasten to add, we're not the helpline, but as a general sort of shoring up, you know, always feel free to contact ourselves.
To give people an even better idea, you know, you've done a couple of case studies throughout, but can you give a couple now, just kind of a brief summary of a couple of case studies, which are quite varied?
It's always, we've got films dotted around the show that people can go and have a look at. And as I touched on earlier, the difficulty with case studies is that some of our more grueling ones, for obvious reasons, because our service is confidential, we can never talk about them, and in, you know, which can be quite difficult. But I think one of the stories or studies that I like most of all is I was privileged to be invited to the Chartered Institute of Horticulture's Young Horticulturalist of the Year competition, and it's people from all sorts of courses from the colleges throughout the country. And I was at Merriswood watching the semi-final, and there was a lad there that was, it's like, I don't know if any of you have ever watched it, but it's like University Challenge for plant geeks. They've got buzzers and everything, and you've got the great and the good from the RHS and Q as the panel, so it's fairly serious, difficult stuff. And they were buzzing away, and there was one lad, and he was really quiet and unassuming, but he was just head and shoulders above the rest. Absolutely amazing. And afterwards I went up and I congratulated all the contestants, and I came to him and I said, "You are absolutely amazing. I'm Kate Cooney from Perennial." He flung his arms around me and he said, "Oh my God, Perennial saved my life." And it's kind of, Nina, it's not the conversation you're expecting. You know, you're there in a formal capacity. You're not expecting to have an emotional moment with somebody that in my case is, you know, one of my son's ages. Yeah. And he said, "I don't come from a wealthy family. I'd always wanted to go and study horticulture in more depth. I had a place at Pershore College. I spent my last money that I had in the world travelling up there, and they messed up my student grant. So I had no money at all, nothing." He said, "It was he said, "I didn't eat, I had nothing, and I didn't even have the money to go home again." And he said, a mature student told me about Perennial. I phoned Perennial. A caseworker came out to me. They sorted out my student loan immediately. They bought me a bag of food. They helped sort out equipment. So I'm like getting all emotional, and even now I do. And he said, his quote was, "You helped me breathe again." And I can't imagine, as a mother, my kids not having, you know, students not having food. And anyway, he went on to win Young Horticulturalist of the Year, and he is now one of the head gardeners at Kew. So it's an amazing, and his quote, "He's going to become one of our young ambassadors." And, you know, that's just another way that I've said that Perennial helped.
I mean, that is a phenomenal case study, isn't it? It's a phenomenal story for the way that Perennial has helped, because like I say, it's really niche ways as well that Perennial can give assistance.
As I say, there's no elevator pitch. And so we kind of keep it broad. And you know, our caseworkers, you know, what is appropriate. No doubt there are some people that, you know, "Oh, they didn't, you know, pay for my new van." We don't do things like that.
Yeah. Hopefully no one expects that.
Yeah, you'll be surprised.
I mean, you've convinced me to donate to Perennial. How can the industry get involved, and how can they show support in various ways?
Thank you for asking this. There's so many different ways of support. I would say the key thing is by becoming a Perennial partner. That has been such a godsend during this time. We had to cancel all our fundraising events, all our sponsored events, you know, thousands and thousands of pounds of donations we've lost, but the Perennial partnership money coming through, and that's an annual donation. And one of the big things that people ask us is, you know, they think it's going to cost tens of thousands of pounds, which of course, if they want to donate tens of thousands of pounds, you know, they would be more than welcome. But literally our partnership schemes start from the cost of a pint a week. And it's such a benefit for us in terms of it's a regular income for us, and it comes with benefits for the companies as well. There can be bespoke partnerships, so some organisations say, I'd like to do this and this and this, and it's sort of tied up, but they have the opportunity to use our logo, which again demonstrates to the industry. It helps with their CSR policies, which for a lot of landscapers are vital. My husband works in construction for a very, very big company. And when people tender, whoever they are, suppliers tender to offer services, you know, more and more organisations are looking at their CSR policies and saying, you know, how do they help the industry? What's their sustainability like? And things like that. So there's benefit, you know, mutual benefits to becoming a partner. And I have to say, we are really hoping we're at a record. What has been amazing is the industry has really come to the fore and our partnerships are at record levels. We need more. And we are hoping, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, I might really get in trouble. Our 96th partner, we're really hoping this week to hit our record 100. So anybody that wants to become Perennial's 100th partner, entering a challenge event, as I say, this year, we've had a few virtual events which have been good. Next year we've got a nighttime trek for Snowdon that's going on, so people can, it's COVID safe, and we've been really busy working hard. There's also, one of the benefits of being a partner is we have exclusive partner networking events as well, which are phenomenal and part of the partnership. Holding fundraising events yourselves, you know, people say, oh, here's some money, I did X, Y and Z and raised some money and we want to donate it for Perennial. And cause related marketing sales, so people adding X amount to their services or giving us a proportion of their profits, really, really helpful. And again, it's a win-win situation there as well. So there's lots of ways, and the money is absolutely vital for us, and fundraising is absolutely vital because our services are sadly you know, it's an expensive thing to run. It's a growing industry and the need has never been as high. But also tell people about us, spread the word, make sure if you're a company watching or part of a company, make sure that you've got our posters, put them up on the backs of loo doors in your vans, contact us to get our contact cards, which are small business side cards, so everybody can have one in their wallet. So if they ever want to phone us, or in the case of the lad that I was talking about that was the student, somebody knew our number and could give it to him quickly. So help us spread the word of what we do. And thank you again to FutureScape for helping us do that.
We're more than happy to. What other companies are supporting Perennial then? You mentioned Perennial partners. There are a few.
I knew you were going to ask. I knew you were going to ask that. I'll have to be really honest, go to our website and have a look. I'm absolutely and the reason I say this and the reason I'm being coy is we really love all of our partners and really value them. and I don't want to miss anybody out. And also some of our partners, as well as, you know, being perennial partners, they do so much additional stuff for us as well, like host events and things like that. And I really don't, all I can say is that about 20% of your exhibitors are perennial partners. So thank you very much, exhibitors that are perennial partners. And I was really pleased that every single time slot you've got over the 3 days, there's a perennial partner in all of those as well. So, you know, the support from the industry is phenomenal and it's growing, but we need more.
Absolutely. Well, I won't get you to list all 96.
I could. But as I say, I'm not being deliberately coy, and I would love, you know, a couple of times I've kind of had to hold myself back, because, yeah, I am really sort of proud and thankful of the work that they do for us. But my worst fear is missing somebody out. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And thanks very much, Kate. I think we've covered an absolutely huge amount about Perennial. Another couple of questions I received, well, one comment, sorry, said that Arboriculture, that is included as well, isn't it?
Yes, totally. We say, you know, any plant, so whether it's a blade of grass to a huge, great big tree, so arboriculture and forestry, which apparently are different. I don't know the technical difference, but yeah, it's a plant, a tree is a plant. So, and very sadly with the industry, that's an industry where there's a huge amount of danger, you know, it's, yeah. So yes, we most definitely do.
Brilliant. And also around Christmas time, what kind of support, I suppose, can Perennial offer financially, I suppose, to people who are in trouble?
The best thing to do is to contact us. It depends on the, you know, the issue itself. So if they're worried about debt or they're worried about covering the costs of Christmas, to contact us.
And I think you covered this a little bit earlier, but upcoming events, which include Perennial, you mentioned a night walk, midnight walk.
It's a nighttime trek in Snowdon that's going to be happening in the summer. Again, we will post, the details are posted on the website. I think it's July, and I should know off the top of my head. But there'll be details there of how to join that. We're also fervently looking for a partnership event which will be free to all our partners. And we have, I'm going to boast a bit now, it goes back to our actual pedigree. You know, and we don't know what the events are going to look like and if we're definitely going to hold them as well. We're working on a golf day. And, you know, a couple of years ago, when the Queen's Head Gardener is one of your trustees, you know, was it? Yeah, it was last year, we took some of our partners to a private tour of Buckingham Palace by the Queen's Head Gardener. So there's all sorts of events that we get involved with, and our festival dinner as well, which will be next October. So fingers and toes crossed.
So an absolutely huge variety. People need to head to the website to find out a little bit more about it. Yeah.
Keep looking on our website. There's, you know, our two big parties, as it were, in normal years are our in January, February, but we're looking at doing something next summer. We have our party for Perennial, which is what we call the festival dinner's naughty bad brother. And that's an event for everybody. And then we have our black tie, very amazing and beautiful festival dinner, which happens in October time. And Alan Titchmarsh was our key speaker for last year. So
fantastic. Kate, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Can you just say again throughout FutureScape how people can get in touch with Perennial?
Yes, we've got our, I've posted in the notes. Can you see those? I've posted our contact details in the questions. We've got a stand at FutureScape, so come and visit our stand. It's going to be manned throughout the time, and our website is perennial.org.uk, and our helpline number is 0800 093 8543.
That's great. Thank you very much. And thanks for joining us at FutureScape Virtual. Again, just a little reminder that the mental health chat is at 11:30, and to join Perennial then as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.